The fluorescent lights of Valley Fair Mall flickered intermittently as I browsed the clearance rack. November in Salt Lake City brought early darkness and a biting chill that followed you inside. I rubbed my arms, sensing someone watching me before I actually saw him. "Excuse me, miss. I'm Officer Roseland." He stood with perfect posture khaki uniform, gleaming badge, and a pleasant, forgettable face. Only later would I remember the badge seemed newer than his weathered uniform. How his tie hung slightly askew. "Someone attempted to break into your car," he said, voice carrying the efficient cadence of authority. "We caught him, but I need you to identify missing items." My throat tightened. "My car? Are you sure?" His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Red Toyota, right? License plate WRT 298? The correctness of this detail silenced my budding doubt. The mall's automatic doors hissed open, releasing us into the cold. My heels clicked against the asphalt while distant traffic formed a constant murmur beneath the wind. Pools of yellow light from sparse lampposts created islands in the darkness. We passed my car untouched. "We're holding the suspect at the substation," he explained smoothly when I hesitated. "I'll drive you. It's procedure." A beige Volkswagen Beetle waited in the shadows. Not a police car. My stomach nodded. "Shouldn't we be in a patrol car?" My voice sounded small even to me. "Undercover work tonight." His explanation came too quickly. "Budget cuts mean we use personal vehicles sometimes. That makes sense," I told myself, even as something primitive in my brain screamed warnings. The car's interior smelled of artificial pine and something metallic beneath. As we pulled away, I noticed we turned right away from downtown, away from any police station I knew. Where exactly are we going? My fingers found the door handle, clutching it like a lifeline. His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Just a small detour. The Beetle lurched into an empty elementary school parking lot, tires crunching over scattered gravel. Darkness pressed against the windows. No street lights, no witnesses. "Why are we stopping?" My voice cracked. When he turned, his face had changed, the practiced pleasantness replaced by hollow eyes that reflected nothing. His breathing quickened, sending small puffs of condensation into the cold car. "Put your hands out." The handcuffs appeared, silver catching what little light remained. Time slowed. The click of metal around my left wrist echoed like a gunshot. My pulse hammered in my throat as his fingers, suddenly clumsy with excitement, fumbled with my sleeve. "If you scream, I'll kill you," he whispered, producing a gun from his jacket. The words weren't threatening, they were matter. A fact, like commenting on weather. The cuff caught on my coat's thick fabric. His frustration mounted with each second, his breathing becoming ragged. That mistake, that single, crucial fumble was my only chance. I slammed my body against the passenger door, tumbling onto frozen asphalt. Pain shot through my shoulder. Behind me came the sound of him scrambling from the driver's side. Something hard connected with my skull. Stars exploded across my vision as warm wetness trickled down my temple. The metallic scent of blood filled my nostrils. "You bitch!" His whisper had become a snarl. He swung again, a crowbar. I realized dimly, but adrenaline made me faster than I'd ever been. I rolled, feeling the air displace as it missed my head by inches. The handcuff dangled from my wrist, jingling with each movement like a macabre bracelet. I fought with the desperate strength of someone with nothing to lose. My nails found his face, digging deep. My knee connected with something soft. His grunt of pain gave me the moment I needed. I ran, the world tilting and swaying. Blood pulsed in my ears with each heartbeat. My lungs burned in the cold air. I didn't stop when I reached the main road. Didn't stop when headlights approached. Only when a real police car responded did I collapse, shaking uncontrollably as officers helped me inside. Through the rear window, I saw something that haunts me still, a figure standing at the edge of darkness, watching with detached curiosity before melting into shadows. Months later, I still flinch when a police car pulls alongside me. I still check badges twice, looking for inconsistencies. Because the true horror wasn't the violence or the near miss, it was how easily I surrendered my trust to a uniform and a confident smile, how willingly I followed danger because it wore the mask of authority. Daniel Whitaker once measured his worth by the happiness of his family. Photos in their Lakewood, Connecticut home captured camping trips, birthday celebrations, and quiet moments. Daniel teaching his daughter Amy to ride a bicycle, helping twins Christopher and Matthew with science projects, his arm around his wife Jennifer, his mother Elizabeth smiling from her wheelchair. By winter, those memories had become twisted in Daniel's fracturing mind. The slide began with whispered prayers and ended with a notebook filled with apocalyptic calculations. Jennifer found him at 3 a.m., charting astronomical alignments that proved the imminent end of days. She begged him to see someone. He agreed, but never went. "They'll suffer when it comes," he told his reflection. "I can spare them that pain." His preparations were methodical. School received emails about a family emergency. Food deliveries canceled. Mail held at the post office. Thermostats lowered to 58 degrees, cold enough to slow decomposition. He withdrew cash in small amounts over weeks, purchased sleeping pills, researched routes west. On the last night, Jennifer found him crying over their sleeping children. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing," he whispered. "I just love them so much." The basement scene defied conventional horror. Detective Simmons would later describe it as unnervingly peaceful. Each body lay in an individual sleeping bag, arranged in a perfect row: Elizabeth, Jennifer, Amy, Christopher, Matthew, with small pillows beneath their heads. Jennifer's right hand extended slightly from her bag, fingers outstretched toward the twins. A mother's instinct to protect surviving even in death. Each child clutched a beloved toy. Amy's glasses were folded neatly beside her. The toxicology report revealed the same cocktail of sedatives in each victim, administered in hot chocolate before the final injections. On the kitchen table, a letter addressed to Pastor Michael Goodwin began. "By the time you read this, I will have delivered my family from the coming tribulation." 4 weeks passed before a water leak in the adjacent townhouse prompted the property manager to enter the Whitaker home. By then, Daniel was establishing himself as Thomas Gardner in Roanoke, Virginia. Thomas found accounting work at a well-regarded firm that appreciated his meticulous attention to detail. He rented a modest apartment, joined Harvest Fellowship Church, and built a reputation as a quiet, dependable man with a tragic past. "My family died in a car accident," he would say, eyes downcast. "I don't like to talk about it." 5 years into his new life, he married Rebecca Wilson, the church choir director who admired his steady faith. She never questioned why he insisted on keeping their wedding small and private, or why he flatly refused when she broached the subject of children. "I can't go through that loss again," he explained. The only truth in a tapestry of lies, but the past lurked beneath the surface. Thomas maintained rigid routines that Rebecca interpreted as quirks: obsessive news monitoring, emergency supplies in the basement, the way he sometimes woke gasping from nightmares he refused to discuss. Once, at a regional accounting conference, he spotted a former colleague from Connecticut across the hotel lobby. Thomas abandoned his name tag and retreated to his room, feigning illness for the remainder of the event. Another time, Rebecca found him burning papers in the backyard fire pit at midnight. "Just old tax documents," he explained, though she noticed how his hands trembled. When Rebecca's niece came to stay for a summer, he began sleeping in the guest room, claiming insomnia. The child's laugh, so similar to Amy Shad, triggered something dark and desperate in him. 18 years after the murders, Christopher Atkins, a cyber forensic specialist who had grown up 3 houses down from the Whitakers, was scrolling through Facebook when a friend shared a Harvest Fellowship fundraising page. Something about the church treasurer's eyes in the group photo triggered a childhood memory. The FBI moved carefully, monitoring Thomas Gardner for weeks before making their move. They arrested him after Sunday service as congregants watched in horror. Rebecca collapsed against their car, her Bible falling open to Proverbs. "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death." The search of their home revealed a locked filing cabinet containing newspaper clippings about the Connecticut murders, 5 small Tekensa hair clip, a watch, a bookmark, 2 tiny action figures, and a journal documenting dreams where the children aged year by year. In the harsh light of the interrogation room, Thomas Gardner reverted to Daniel Whitaker, his carefully constructed persona crumbling. I saved them, he insisted, voice hollow. The world was ending. I checked the signs every day for 18 years, waiting for vindication. At the trial, Jennifer's sister Catherine delivered testimony that silenced the courtroom. While you've been living, breathing, feeling the sun on your face, 5 hearts stopped beating. 5 voices will never be heard again. 5 futures were stolen. The world didn't end, Daniel. Just theirs. Rebecca filed for annulment and moved cross-country, but the nightmares followed. Harvest Fellowship held prayer vigils for healing and understanding. Daniel's accounting colleagues searched their memories for signs they'd missed. In prison, Daniel maintains a calendar, where he still tracks the celestial signs of an apocalypse that never comes. The overhead lights cast long shadows across the empty aisles of Pinewood Gas. Mart, their sickly yellow glow making even the colorful candy wrappers look dull and faded. Ellie adjusted her name tag for the 100th time that night, the silence pressing against her ears. Outside, the highway hummed faintly in the distance, a reminder of the world beyond this lonely outpost. It was nearing 1 a.m., the deadest part of her shift. She glanced at the clock, willing the minutes to pass faster. Darlene's voice echoed in her mind. Stay behind the glass, Ellie. No exceptions. You don't want to end up like the last guy. The last guy. Robbed at knife point 6 months ago. Ellie had never met him, but the story stuck with her. She glanced at the reinforced glass surrounding the register, her supposed fortress. It felt safe enough, but the emptiness of the store made her skin crawl. The bell above the door chimed, breaking the silence. Ellie's head snapped up. A man stumbled in, his movements jerky and uncoordinated. He clutched the edge of the chip display for balance, his breathing labored. Sir, are you okay? Ellie called out, her voice steady despite the sudden spike of adrenaline. The man didn't answer right away. He swayed slightly, his head tilting as if he were trying to focus on her. That's when she noticed the blood. A dark streak ran down the side of his face, pooling at his temple. The metallic tang of copper hit her nose, faint but unmistakable. His hands trembled as he reached out, gripping the counter for support. I don't know where I am, he mumbled, his voice slurred. Ellie's instincts screamed at her to stay behind the glass, but the sight of his injury tugged at her humanity. He's hurt. He needs help. Okay, just stay right there, she said, picking up the phone. I'm calling an ambulance. The man nodded weakly, his eyes darting around the store. Something about the way he avoided looking directly at her made her stomach twist. Do you remember what happened? She asked, trying to keep him talking. I think I fell, he said, his words halting. Hit my head. Ellie frowned. There were no signs of a crash outside, no screech of tires or shattered glass. She glanced at his hands, dirt caked under his nails, as if he'd been clawing at something. Where were you before this? She pressed, her fingers tightening around the phone. The man's gaze flicked to the door, then back to her. I don't know. The unease in her chest deepened. She hesitated, her thumb hovering over the lock button for the glass door. Darlene would kill me if she knew I was even thinking about stepping out. But the man swayed again, his knees buckling slightly. Ellie cursed under her breath and unlocked the door. Here, sit down, she said, guiding him to a chair by the coffee station. His skin was cold and clammy under her touch, and she noticed a faint smear of blood on her sleeve where she'd brushed against him. The dispatcher's voice crackled in her ear, assuring her that help was on the way. Ellie hung up and grabbed a clean towel from under the counter, handing it to the man. Press this to your head, she said. Thanks, he muttered, his voice barely audible. The minutes stretched unbearably long as they waited. Ellie tried to ask more questions, but his answers were fragmented, his gaze darting nervously toward the door every few seconds. When the ambulance and police finally arrived, Ellie felt a wave of relief so strong it nearly buckled her knees. The paramedics moved quickly, checking the man's vitals and securing him on a stretcher. Officer Reyes lingered, her sharp eyes scanning the man's face. She pulled out her phone and snapped a photo, her expression unreadable. Is he going to be okay? Ellie asked, her voice shaky. Reyes didn't answer right away. She exchanged a look with her partner, Officer Tanner, before turning back to Ellie. "We'll let you know," she said. Her tone clipped. Ellie watched as the ambulance pulled away, the flashing lights disappearing into the night. She returned to her post, locking the glass door behind her this time. At 4 a.m., the officers returned. Ellie poured them coffee, her hands steadier than she expected. "How's the guy doing?" she asked, sliding the cups through the window. Reyes hesitated, her jaw tightening. "You're lucky, Ellie. Really lucky." Ellie's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" Tanner leaned against the counter, his face pale. "That guy you helped? His name's not Mike. It's Peter Calloway. He's wanted in 2 states for rape and murder." Ellie's breath caught in her throat. Reyes continued, her voice low. "He broke into a house tonight, tried to climb into a little girl's bedroom. Her dad caught him and hit him with a baseball bat. That's where the head injury came from." Ellie's mind reeled. The blood, the dirt under his nails, the way he avoided her eyes. "He was right here," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You did the right thing calling us," Reyes said. "But next time, stay behind the glass." They left her with that chilling advice, and Ellie spent the rest of her shift in a daze. When Darlene arrived at 6 a.m., Ellie was still behind the glass, the door firmly locked. "Good shift?" Darlene asked, unlocking the register. Ellie hesitated, her mind replaying the night's events, the blood on her sleeve, the man's trembling hands, the way he'd looked at the door like he was waiting for someone to come after him. "Educational," she finally said, her voice hollow. "Very educational." That morning, as Ellie drove home, every shadow in her rearview mirror seemed to move. The hum of the highway felt louder, more oppressive. She locked her apartment door twice and flinched when the doorbell rang later that afternoon. She never left the glass-shielded register area at night again.
Like, subscribe, and comment.